This is a lesson on learning to identify and use the four types of sentences. So all sentences can be boiled down and classified into four different types that we'll learn about. And you'll know you're successful today if you can categorize sentences according to their type, and if you can use each of these four types in your own writing. The four types of sentences. These are the four types. All sentences can be classified as one of these: question, command, exclamation, or a statement. And now we'll get into detail on each of these four types. So the first type, a statement, is a sentence that has a clear who and what. And these are what we talked about when we learned about complete sentences and fragments. The who is the subject of the sentence, and even though it says who, it sometimes is an it, but it's the subject is the noun or the noun phrase that's going to do something in the sentence. It's a statement about the subject of the sentence. It ends with a period. The examples I have here are simple sentences, and we are going to learn how to make more complex and compound sentences. But even as they get a little bit more complex, a statement will still have a clear who and what stated in the sentence, and they always will end with a period. So our three examples. The labyrinth is full of monsters. The remote is under the table. We enjoy solving problems. Those are statements. Commands, which I put our little officer with his pointing finger to help us remember this type. Commands are sentences where the who is not explicitly stated. It's implied. It's like invisible. And the who of these types of sentences is you. So if I want to tell you to do something, you as one individual, or y'all as a lot of you, many you people, then I'm giving a command, and I cut off the word you and just start with the what I want you to do, the verb of the sentence. They also end with a period, so we have to learn how to recognize and identify these. Here's three examples. Turn right to reach the end of the labyrinth. So you might notice that there is no who explicitly spelled out for us, but it is part of the sentence. It's implied. I want you to do what I'm saying. Example 2, bring me the remote. Example 3, solve the problem. One way I remember commands is that they are instructions that begin with a verb. Exclamations. These are the type of sentence that you write when you want to express a forceful or strong emotion, and they end with an exclamation point. When we first teach kindergartners and first graders about the exclamation point and that it expresses strong feelings, they use that punctuation mark all the time. They love to write lots of sentences with exclamation points. But one of the things that we recognize as we mature as writers is that when they're rare, they mean more. So we want to be conservative in how often we use exclamations so that they actually carry more weight, that that emotion is reserved for a really strong expression of feelings. So my three examples: we will watch out for monsters. Don't forget to submit your homework. She loves sharks. So just remember that little extra emotional punch is when we use exclamations. And the final type of sentence that we're going to talk about is a question. Questions are sentences that ask something, and they always end with a question mark. For our three examples, where is the end of the labyrinth? Will you please bring me the remote? Is there a way to solve this problem? And one of the things you might notice when we speak sentences is that our voice goes up in pitch towards the end of the sentence. And along the bottom here, I've listed 6 words that signal that a sentence is a question. If this is a word at the beginning, it's probably a question, although there are many other ways to begin and phrase and word a question sentence. But who, what, when, where, why, and how are often questions, words that begin a question sentence. Okay, it is time to practice and see how we're doing on that first success criteria. It's time to see if we can categorize these 6 sentences. So pause the video, find something to quickly write down your answer for each one, and you can simply punctuate just for number 1, write if you think it's a period, exclamation point, or question mark. And I'd like you to also, if it's a command, you'll need a period or an exclamation point and the letter C, because commands we can't identify just from the punctuation. So pause the video and give it a try. Okay, I have just added the punctuation and identified the 2 sentences in this list that are commands. I'll go through it pretty quick. Sam is coming with us. That's a statement. Continue the space program. That's a command. There's an implied you is the subject of that one. And that could have been just a period, or I put an exclamation. It depends how strongly you feel about that or the context of the writing. How many crew members live and work on the International Space Station? That's a question. I'm not going. This one isn't a command. It's a statement, but it can also be an exclamation, again, depending on how strong and the context of the writing. Describe how igneous rocks are formed. That's a command and doesn't need an exclamation point. It's just instructions. The door was left open. It's a simple statement. So how did you do? Hopefully you were able to recognize the command sentences in that set of 6, and hopefully you feel pretty good about how you're doing with this first success criteria check mark. I can categorize sentences according to their type. And you are going to have a lot of opportunities to practice forming your own of each of these types as we put this into our everyday work.